What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. Today I'm looking at the good, bad, and the ugly of Record Store Day Black Friday 2025 pricing. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. So now that the Black Friday list has been out for about a week, and I'm starting to see some pricing kind of roll out. I've seen some stuff on the list that I'm actually surprised that it's actually priced lower than what I expected it to be. And then other stuff that, I just don't understand, how they expect to sell some albums the way that they're priced. I feel like price of records have been kind of a hot topic in the vinyl community for the last couple of years. I think really when it comes to Record Store Day and Record Store Day Black Friday, it's such a big deal because the meaning behind Record Store Day is it's supposed to be a day to celebrate independent record stores. And these record stores are already working off of really thin margins. And, a lot of these RSD titles, they're really not making much off of anyway. So selling these albums at a high price, ends up actually hurting record stores in the long run because, they buy these albums for, and have to turn around and sell them for, $60, $70, and they end up sitting on a shelf for months and months, and then they have to discount them to sell them, so they're actually selling them at a loss. How is that anyway helping record stores? But I do think there are some good deals to be had out there for Black Friday. One of which I think is this Rent original soundtrack. It's an RSD exclusive, limited to 4,500 copies. It's 2 LPs. It's on milky clear and translucent red vinyl. It's going to run you around $37. This is the first time this has ever been available on vinyl. They're releasing it to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the movie. The album contains 6 of the 8 original Broadway cast members. This is one of those albums where when I saw this on the list, I was easily expecting this to be, probably around $45. So when I saw this was around $37, I actually thought this was a pretty good deal for this album, especially considering what a lot of other, albums for musicals go for. It's one I probably won't pick up, but I know, for 4,500 copies, I think this is going to be one that moves pretty good for Record Store Day. Another one I've got on my list, on the good list, is this Fleetwood Mac Live 1975. It's another RSD exclusive, limited to 5,000 copies, 2 LPs on clear vinyl. It's running about $35. It was recorded in October 75 in New Jersey and in Connecticut. And this was just shortly after the release of their self-titled album. So this is the first tour after Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks joined the band. And it's got a good mix of both older songs and newer songs on there. And this is another one where, I really expected this to be in the mid $40 range. Even though I don't think Fleetwood Mac titles typically are pricier, but because it is an RSD release, limited to 5,000 copies, I don't think it's that limited. There's another one, just as I was going down through the list, I saw that price. I was like, oh, that's actually one that, I thought easily it was going to be, another $5+ more than what was listed at. Something I was a little surprised to see on the RSD Black Friday list is Curtis by Curtis Mayfield. It's an RSD exclusive, limited 2,700 copies. So this is going to run you around $32, but this is a Rhino Reserve release. And because it is a Rhino Reserve release, I was kind of surprised to see that's going to be exclusive to RSD Black Friday. So this is all cut from the original analog tapes by Chris Bellman. It's pressed at Fidelity Record Pressings, a new plant in California. I don't have any of these Rhino Reserve releases in my collection yet, but they've got nothing but rave reviews on them so far. I give Rhino a lot of credit for what they're doing with this Reserve series, where they're having this almost, I don't want to call these audiophile releases, but, they are very high quality releases that they are releasing for, I think $32 is a really good price for this high quality of a release, when you're seeing things like Tone Poet releases being a lot more than that. So, it's one I got on my good list. I've also got Ramones Live at CBGB's 1977. This is definitely one I'm going to pick up for Black Friday. But RSD exclusive, 6,000 copies. It's a 1 LP release. It's on red vinyl. It's going to run about $25. This was recorded just a couple of months after they released their second album, Leave Home. And this is kind of a snapshot of the Ramones in the venue that, kind of made them famous just a couple of years after they started. And even though Ramones releases typically aren't expensive whenever they are released for Record Store Day, because how popular the Ramones are, I think I'll always have Ramones releases on the good list, because you could always charge another $5 to $8 and probably sell just as many copies. For record stores, these are always no-brainers, because they can pull in as many copies as they can, because they know these are easily going to sell. As much as we talk about the price of records over the last couple of years, there are still quite a few of those $25 to $30 albums on the Black Friday list this year. NXS has a live album that's in that range, live from Royal Albert Hall, London, 1986. So it's an RSD exclusive, limited to 3,000 copies. It's on opaque Apple red vinyl. It was recorded in June 1986, and this is being released for the 40th anniversary of Listen Like Thieves. It was part actually of that 40th anniversary box set that came out earlier this year. I'm glad to see that they're releasing it separately from the box set. So the box set, I think, was just a CD box set that came out. I don't think the box set was released on vinyl. So I'm glad to see that if you're a fan of NXS, if you're a fan of that album, you're actually able to get this great live album separately outside of that box set for only $25. So it's another one I got on my good list. And then another one I've got, I didn't even notice this on the RSD list the first couple of times I went over it. This is Miles Davis, live at the Plug Nickel, December 23rd, 1965. It's an RSD exclusive, limited to 5,900 copies. It's a 2 LP release. It's going to run you about $31. So this is a legendary jazz recording at the Plug Nickel in Chicago. And it was with an absolutely who's who lineup of jazz musicians from the 60s. He's got Wayne Shorter on here, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter. He's got Tony Williams on drums. This is actually going to be part of a bigger box set that's going to be coming out in the beginning part of next year with a whole series of recordings that he did. I think all of them from the Plug Nickel. But with this album in particular, you're getting over an hour's worth of incredible jazz music. This is one that I didn't have on my must-have list when I looked over it the first time. This is definitely another one I'm going to be picking up on Black Friday. And then that brings us to the bad list. So the bad list isn't always necessarily pricing. I do have a couple of albums that I've got some issues with. So the first one is Punk Goes Acoustic. It's an RSD exclusive, limited to 1,700 copies. It's 1 LP. It's on translucent yellow vinyl. It's only $28. But my issue with this album is when this album came out back in, I think it was 2005, there's 20 songs on it. But what you're getting on this RSD release for $28 is only 10 of those 20 songs. So for $28, you're only getting half of the original track listing. And, some of the best songs, I think, off that original album didn't even make the 10 tracks that are going to be on this RSD release. So it's my big issue with this album. If you're going to release the entire album, just release it. Do a 2 LP release. I don't care. $28 for the 1 LP, do $35 and do the entire thing and just release the entire track listing. It's ridiculous that this is available on CD. You can pick it up. It's been available for a long time. What's the point of doing a release like this if you're not going to do the entire track listing? So that made my bad list. Also, Van Halen live at Wembley 1995 for almost the exact same reason. It's an RSD exclusive, limited to 6,000 copies. It's 1 LP. It's going to be on orange vinyl. $25 is not a bad price for this live album. My issue with this was part of the Balance box set, or the deluxe edition that came out earlier in the year. But this live performance at Wembley, there was 14 songs on that. Why is there only 8 songs on this live album? I just don't understand why you're going to release a truncated version of a live album. You're going to put this whole thing together, just release the entire album, to release the entire performance. Same thing with the deluxe edition. Why waste the effort putting all that, the songs together if you're just going to take out a third of the performance, put the entire thing together and just package it with the deluxe edition, and then just do a vinyl pressing of the entire performance, because you're missing 6 of the 14 tracks on this live show. The next release is one that I think is not only kind of a cash grab, but I am completely over all these Zoetrope picture discs. This is Bluey the album, 5th birthday. It's an RSD exclusive, limited to 4,500 copies. It's 1 LP. It's going to run you around $39. So the Bluey RSD release from 2023 was surprisingly a hit. I mean, I thought it was going to sell well, but I didn't think it was going to sell as well as it did. So I wasn't all that surprised to see them do another RSD release. But doing a Zoetrope picture disc, having this thing cost, almost $40 for a kid's RSD release, I mean, it just seems like a cash grab to me. And like I said, all these different Zoetrope picture discs, I think I'm kind of over them. They've done them for pretty much every album now. They're doing a RSD version of their Satanic Majesty's Request. It's a Zoetrope picture disc also. And like I said for a long time, that album is not great, but they're doing a Zoetrope picture disc version of it with the album artwork is more iconic than anything that's on the album. But the picture disc version of it is missing all the album artwork on there, which is the iconic thing about that album. So, when it comes to these Zoetrope picture discs, I'm just over them. So between that and them just kind of capitalizing, I think, on the vinyl craze and I think trying to milk every penny they can out of their fans. I think that's kind of the issue I have with it, and that's why it ended up on my bad list. I've also got Yusuf Lateef, Golden Flower, live in Sweden. So this is an RSD first, so it probably will get reissued again. Limited to 1,750 copies. It's 2 LPs. It's going to be about $50 though. It was recorded in September of 67 and August of 72. Sure, it comes with some rare photos and new liner notes and interviews. I think $50 is just a steep price, I think, for this release. I mean, he is a popular musician, but I don't think he's popular enough to demand that kind of price. Something I thought that was just kind of crazy on the Black Friday list is Eric Carr Rockology. I mean, how many times are we going to have this Eric Carr release for Record Store Day? But this is an RSD limited or regional release. It's only limited to like 500 copies. It's 1 LP. It's going to be on liquid-filled vinyl. It's going to run you around $100, which, I get it. These liquid-filled albums, they're kind of a novelty kind of thing. Who is this marketed towards? Who is asking for a liquid-filled version of this album? And I get it. Anything Kiss-related is going to sell, and this is no different. 500 copies, I'm sure this is going to sell pretty easily. But when I see the marketing around this album, when I see it say, every previous Eric Carr RSD release has sold out, it just feels like a cash grab to me. I will say the price of this album really isn't that crazy. When you look at other similar albums, a lot of these other like liquid-filled albums are generally $100, $125. So it is in that range. It's just like I said, who's asking for this album to be released this way? Like I said, as much as I complain about it, I'm sure it's easily going to sell out. I mean, the day after, Black Friday, I'm sure if you go on eBay, it's going to be selling on eBay for, easily $200 or $300. So, that's one I got on my bad list. And then you also got Ringo Starr, Choose Love. It's an RSD first, limited to 1,500 copies, 1 LP. It's on ruby red vinyl. It's running you like $38. This is another Ringo Starr RSD release that I'm sure is probably going to sit on shelves for a while. I get it that a lot of people look at this album as one of his best albums of the 21st century, but this is one of those albums that is still pretty easily found for pretty cheap on CD. It's not available on vinyl. It's the first time this has been pressed, but you can still pick up the CD for literally $1 or $2. I'm pretty sure the last couple of times I flipped through the RSD bins whenever I go into record stores, because a lot of record stores do that, where they have like their older RSD releases all in one bin you can flip through. I always find a Ringo Starr release in there, or a couple of Ringo Starr releases in there. I'm sure this one's going to be no different. And even though this is his best album, or one of his best albums of the 21st century, his output in the 21st century has not been great. So I don't think it's a really hard thing to do. The reviews were not great for this album when it came out. I know there's Ringo fans and there's Beatle fans that will pick this up for Record Store Day, but this, I think, is another one. Like I said, this is another one of those albums where it's going to sit on shelves for a while. It'll eventually sell, just because it's not a high number. When I say there was 1,500 copies of this, it'll eventually sell out, but I think it'll take some time. Something else I was a little surprised by the pricing that was put on an album is Linda Perry In Flight. So this is an RSD first, limited to 1,100 copies. It's on 2 LPs. It's on black ice vinyl. So Linda Perry is known for her work with Four Non Blondes, but when she released her solo album in the mid-90s, I think a lot of people expected it to be a Four Non Blondes kind of album, and it's not. It is a very different style of album. I think mainly because of that, it got some mixed reviews, and I think it kind of hurt sales. So I think if you're trying to entice music fans to revisit an album from 30 years ago, or almost 30 years ago, and you're asking them to give your album another shot, asking $40+ for this album, I think is a lot. I think had it been, $33 to $35, I think it would have moved a little faster in record stores. I think the price on that is maybe just a tad too steep, but I think it's an album worth revisiting. I'm looking forward to it. And I said it in when I did my RSD video. I can find it on sale somewhere eventually. I think it is. Yeah, it is an RSD first, so it probably will get reissued. If I can find it on sale somewhere eventually, I probably will grab a copy of it. But like I said, I think the pricing is a little off on that one. And then the last one I got on my bad list, this is one that's probably the one that I've gone back and forth on, probably the most. on this bad list. But this is Bad Brains, live at the Bayou, Washington, D.C., July 14th, 1980, and March 15th, 1981. It's an RSD exclusive, limited 2,500 copies. It's on 2 LPs. It's going to run you about $50. And then mainly it's because the price. It is $50, but you are getting like 2 full live shows from Bad Brains on here. And it's essentially like a snapshot of the very early beginning of the band. And I ended up putting it on the list because I don't think Bad Brains, even though they were, very influential, for a period of time, but I don't think their influence and their popularity exists enough in 2025 to, put a $50 plus price tag on an album. Even though, like I said, you are getting 2 live shows from the band. And I might be wrong. This one might be one that sells pretty easily. That's why I kind of go back and forth on this one, because I know it's one that, a lot of Bad Brains stuff has not been available on vinyl, at least live shows, has not been available out there. So this might be one that, might sell pretty quick, but I could also see this one sitting around for a while on record shelves. And then that brings me down to the ugly list. The first one is like the cash grab of all cash grabs. This is Motley Crue, Home Sweet Home. It's an RSD exclusive picture disc. Limited to 2,500 copies. It's 1 LP. It's going to run you $30, which the price, you might be asking yourself, okay, $30 is not a bad price for 1 LP. Yes, it is a picture disc. Yes, it is a great song, but it is still 6 versions of the same song on a picture disc for $30. This is, this is kind of what I talk about when I talk about gimmicky RSD releases. This is one of those gimmicky releases. Yes, people are going to buy this, but how often are you going to want to listen to 6 versions of the exact same song? Had they done this in conjunction with some different material, some additional material from Theater of Pain, I think it would have been a much better release. I wouldn't have had nearly the same opinion on this album that I do. So that's definitely one that, that's why I had to be like in the number 1 spot on my ugly list. And then you've also got The Doors, live in Copenhagen, 1968. RSD exclusive, limited to 5,300 copies. It's on 2 LPs. It's going to be on clear vinyl. This is going to run you about $60. This is one I talked about in my RSD video when I did that on Sunday, because I've got no clue why this thing is $60. I looked online. I looked on the Doors website. I looked around to see if there's something I'm missing, something additional on here in the packaging or something that makes them justify charging $60 for this live album. And sure, it's never been released before. You're getting, 2 performances from that day on there. I've never been disappointed from a live album from the Doors, but $60 is just, I think it's just crazy to charge that price for this live album. Unless, like I said, unless I'm missing something, something else that's included to kind of justify that price. Another live album that I was completely confused by the pricing that they were asking for it is Matchbox 20 Mad Season Live 2001. It's an RSD exclusive, limited to 3,500 copies. It's on 2 LPs. It's going to have Flavors, Truffle, Vinyl, whatever that is. Whatever. It's going to run you about $60, about the same price as they're asking for that Doors release. And what's included on this live album is it's not even from one performance. It's from concerts from across the Mad Season tour, but it's live versions of all the songs on the Mad Season album, plus 2 cover songs. And this might be another great live album, but I just don't understand how they justify $60 for this album. And off the top of my head, when they reissued, all of Matchbox 20's albums, maybe what was that, 2 years back now? I thought all of those albums were kind of reasonably priced. So I don't know why such a huge price increase, or such a huge asking price for this live album. So hopefully there's not a lot of record stores out there that are going to get stuck with these $60 albums on their shelves. And like I said, months later are going to have to discount them just to move them, because like I said, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of Record Store Day. And then I'm going to round out my ugly list with something that I know there's a lot of people out there that are really excited for. I think these were supposed to be RSD releases earlier this year, but they got delayed until RSD Black Friday. And that's the 3 Fred Again releases. So you've got Actual Life Piano Live November 20th, 2024. And you've got Actual Life 2 Piano Live March 20th, 2022. And then Actual Life 3 Piano Live December 22nd, 2022. Like I said, I know there's a lot of people out there that are excited for these 3 releases. All 3 of them are RSD exclusives. They're limited to 2,000 copies. I think they're limited to 2,000 copies in the U.S., but 5,000 copies each worldwide. But they're all on one LP. They're all going to be on white vinyl. These things are going to run you $50 each. So if you're one of those people out there that are excited for these releases and you want to pick up all three of them, if you want to pick up all three albums, it's 3 LPs for $150. And maybe I feel that way just because Fred Again was never really all that popular here in the US, at least in the greater mainstream. I know the first Fred Again album, I think, hit number like 10 or 11 on the electronic charts on Billboard. So they did have some mainstream success, but never like in the big mainstream. So all three of these releases, it's just hard for me to think that they're, justifying $50 each for these releases. And if you're somebody out there that does think that $50 is a decent price for these albums, drop me a comment, because I'd love to know, the justification behind it. And maybe I'm just talking out of just pure ignorance. I'm not sure. I saw the price on it for that release, for those releases. I just thought that was way high. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of these. What do you guys think of the good, the bad, and the ugly of RSD Black Friday pricing? Because I think there are some good prices out there. There are some good deals out there. There's some decently priced albums. There is definitely some questionable stuff. I'm definitely not happy with all the picture discs, and there's way too many live albums on the list this year, which I feel like there always are for Black Friday. But I'm still looking forward to Black Friday. I'll still go out there and stay in line all night long and talk about music and have a good old time like always. But let me know what you guys think. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.